Have you ever felt a tiny little pit in your stomach when someone says, just code it the way I said and it'll be fine? Or maybe everyone does it that way. Or my personal favorite, we need to do it this way so that we can get paid. Today, we're talking about something that does not get enough attention in medical coding, not modifiers, not guidelines, not even audits. We are talking today about ethics. Because here's the truth that no one tells you when you're studying for your CPC. Your credential doesn't protect your career, your ethics do. And if you want longevity in this field, you want real stability, real reputation, real confidence, you have to understand where compliance meets character. Let's talk about it. By the way, if you're new here, hey, I'm Victoria. I'm a medical coder, auditor, educator, and content creator. On my channel, I provide tips, tricks, and tutorials to help you be successful in the medical coding career. Today's video is sponsored by Alpha Coding Experts, but more on them in just a minute. Now, a lot of times when people hear ethics, they think, oh, just don't commit fraud. Yes, obviously, like, please do not commit fraud. We enjoy not being federally indicated, but coding ethics is a lot more than that. It's about coding only what is supported through the documentation, not making assumptions, not inflating diagnoses, not ignoring documentation gaps, not coding from problem lists without verification that the diagnoses are still active, or not helping reimbursement in such a way that it stretches the truth. A big part of ethics is actually restraint. It's about saying, I cannot code that because it's not supported, even if the provider expects it, or the manager is pressuring you, or the billing department says that they want it this way, or the RVUs look better with it. We have to maintain our integrity and only code what we can support with the documentation in the medical record. And here's part of the truth of that is that most compliance problems don't really start with evil or malicious intent. They start with small compromises. And small compromises that are repeated over time are how careers can quietly implode. A lot of coders think that compliance is the organization's responsibility. And yes, compliance programs exist for the company. But when it comes to compliance in regards to your credential and protecting the ethics and integrity, and oftentimes your credentialing organization's code of ethics, that is your responsibility. If something goes wrong, the organization might restructure, they might settle, they might rebrand, but your name stays attached with your coding decisions. Your certification body, especially the AAPC and AHIMA, they expect you to adhere to official guidelines, to follow the payer policies, to maintain integrity, and to protect patient records and privacy. And if you're audited, I was told to code it this way, it's important to document that and keep a paper trail, but it might not always be the best defense. When we're talking about things like career longevity, coders need to code defensively. They need to push back respectfully, document their concerns, and ask for clarification. That's how you build a reputation, and your reputation travels with you. In this industry, medical coding, it's a small industry. It is a tight-knit group. People talk, auditors talk, the hiring managers move to different organization. So your coder integrity is what helps you stay employable. Coders who are just pushing things through charge scrubbers or bypassing edits or doing whatever it takes to get paid, they don't have as much integrity. Some real world situation examples. So ethics shows up when, for example, a provider wants a higher specificity or a higher level, and it's not documented in a way that supports that. For example, if the provider says, can't you just code it as this diabetic complication when they only documented diabetes mellitus with no complications? No, you can't. And I can't, you can't, none of us can. It has to be supported by the documentation. Or sometimes you're just told to use unspecified codes because it's faster. Sometimes it's appropriate. Sometimes it's just providers having lazy code selection in the electronic medical record. And ethics means knowing the difference between those two situations and striving and working towards having the record and thereby the codes reflect the most specific picture that we can paint in regards to that patient. And then risk adjustment pressure, that's actually gotten huge over the past few years. Can we capture that HCC? Well, in order to capture it, it has to be assessed, monitored, evaluated, addressed, planned for. They did something to that diagnosis. If it's just historical, we've not touched it, we didn't discuss it, it just exists, but that provider did not address or assess or what have you, it can't be coded. We need that clear documentation supporting that that is still an active diagnosis. And then, of course, we have production quotas because speed pressure can be real, but rushing through that documentation and then wind up assuming details, you skim through things a little fast, that's where errors can happen. And repeated errors, that's when patterns happen. And when patterns happen, that's when it can flag things like audits, and then things get interesting. A lot of the things we have to really think about in regards to ethics lives more in that gray space, not in the obvious fraud. It's in these tiny daily decisions. And this is actually where having the right support can make a huge difference. If you're a practice manager, a compliance officer, or even an attorney that's navigating complex coding or documentation concerns, sometimes you just need a set of experienced eyes. And that's one of the reasons I appreciate the work of alpha coding experts. They work with organizations that are dealing with complicated cases or audits, compliance concerns, or just gray areas of documentation, and they help bring clarity. It's just very thoughtful, compliant guidance. So if you're in a leadership role and you're facing something nuanced, it might be worth reaching out to them to see how their experts can support you. I will link you to Alpha Coding Experts in the video description. At the end of the day, I really feel like ethical coders tend to sleep better. They're not panicking when there's an audit announcement. You're not fearing that there's going to be a retrospective review. You're not sweating anytime your manager says that you have to come into their office or that they're going to schedule a meeting with you. You're not mentally replaying things at 2 in the morning, because if you have full confidence that everything you're doing is to the best of your ability, you're really coding what's supported, not just necessarily what is like, this is the profitable thing. If we code correctly, the dollars should follow. But long term, ethical coders, they can move into auditing and compliance and become educators and consultants and build authority, because integrity compounds. And here's the thing, ethical coding is not about being rigid, it's not about being dramatic or talking down to providers or trying to whip them into shape. It's about being grounded in guidelines and documentation and policy and professional standards. It's about having quiet confidence, not confrontation. You can say, I need the documentation to support that, calmly and professionally, without ego or without accusations or saying the the F word, not the four-letter F word, the fraud. So here's what I want you all to remember. You worked so hard for your credentials. You studied, you sacrificed, you learned guidelines that most of the world doesn't even know exist. Do not trade that for short-term pressure that you have for a job. Compliance isn't just a department in the hospital, it is a mindset. Ethics isn't just about avoiding trouble, it's about building a career that lasts. Medical coding is stable and it is flexible, but only if your reputation is solid. So when you're faced with that little voice going, is this really supported? Like, you should probably listen to it, because that voice is your professional instinct and it's protecting how you protect your future. So thank you so much for tuning into this video. I hope this video helped you out. If this video helped you think a little bit deeper about your role as a coder, definitely let me know in the comments below. As always, I will see you in the next video. And until then, just keep on coding on.